What's up, everyone? KAMIKAZE-FOX coming to you from IRL once again, and this is going to be F1 racing today. Round 4 at the Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona. Round 4 of the 2018 F1 season here on the PS4 platform. Just getting some things ready here, and we're getting ready to kick off an 18-minute qualifying session. We will run down the driver lineup. It looks like we've got a couple of new names and faces. Some F2 guys going to be joining in as well again, I believe. We've already got some viewers tuning into the live chat. Rush Viper and Francisco Camacho and Adrian Storm. And we will talk about Adrian Storm a little bit more as we get ready to kick off. Like I said, 18-minute qualifying session. This is round 4 in Spain. F2 raced yesterday. You can check out that live stream on the IRL YouTube channel, or you can also check it out on mine. Had co-commentating yesterday. I did it on my private channel. Sandre Sauerhog and Matthew Alder did the official stream for IRL on the IRL channel. I did mine on my private channel yesterday for F2 along with driver Lewis Marshall. So definitely check that out. That was round 4 for F2 yesterday. An amazing race all the way through. Started with 17 drivers, ended with 9. And the battle really did come down to the last couple of laps. Adrian Storm drove a near perfect race, but I won't ruin it for you how that ended, but it definitely ended in tears for Adrian Storm. So gonna just get my F1 notes out. We're gonna run down this driver ladder. That's Praga X30 we see leaving the pits there. That is gonna be Lewis Marshall. And Francisco Camacho is in fact Paco Suarez. Paco was definitely the spoiler in yesterday's race. So Lewis Marshall we see on his outlap in the Scuderia Ferrari. We pick up Hammer Time 95. Don't believe I may have gotten notes on him. I'm feeling a little ill and probably didn't put him where I was supposed to. Obviously Hammer Time is unfortunately a Lewis Hamilton fan. Adrian Storm is leaving the pits in the Mercedes. And then we have John Colonius in the Renault. And I'm not sure if that is an F2 driver. Haven't seen him yet this year. Sandre Sauerhog. KLC73 is Aaron Collingwood. Joshua Dangle, Gabriel Ryan, Louis Quinlan, coming off of his first finish this year in the last round. Felix Naguar is your championship points leader, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. Tyler R 2003, that is Tyler Rhodes. He got the call up from F2. And again, we'll talk about him. Jay Drawbridge is also tied for points with Felix Naguar. TTG Squeezy. Not 100% sure who that is. And then we have Prime Stingray. That is Luke Smith. More than likely going to be a spoiler in today's race. He is a reserve. Jorge Correa is still in the pits. And Alexander Bastos looking to make his second start of the F1 season. So we've got 16 drivers as of right now. And if you missed the last round, round 3 in Mexico was an amazing race. Jay Drawbridge took his first pole position of the year and his second win in the row back at round 3 in Mexico. As we see, TJ Squeezy is the first one to set a time with a 1:27.26. pick up Jay Drawbridge as he heads back into the pits. Didn't like the setup on the car. But yeah, Drawbridge won his second race in a row and tied with Felix Naguar in the point standings. And you see Aaron Collingwood jumps to the top of the charts with a 1:18.5. Brandon Glover managed to finish second at the last round. He's not with us today, but that was his first podium of the year. He's still in championship points contention. He finished fourth in the first 2 rounds and finally picks up a second place. Reese Bibby picked up his second podium in a row last round. He's also not racing today. He was driver of the day back at round 2 in Circuit of the Americas and drove in another amazing race in Mexico. Managed to score another podium. And Adrian Storm, who we are definitely going to talk about a little bit for sure today, managed to start in the back of the pack. I believe he started 12th at the round 3 in Mexico, worked his way towards the front and finished 4th in his F1 debut for IRL. A great run by him. And as we talked earlier, he ran a near perfect race yesterday in F2. And I have changed my mind. I am going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but he ran a damn near perfect race. Fighting for the lead for most of the race, picked his spots very well, tried a one-stop strategy, and unfortunately with 2 laps to go, the mediums didn't hold up, and he blew a left rear tire, handing the victory over to Paco Suarez, who had an amazing battle at the beginning of the race for 6 with Tim Brusdelins, I believe is how you pronounce his name. It was a very aggressive battle between those two for a number of laps. A lot of argy-bargy and shoulder checking. Paco came out on top and took the win away, and Storm fell from 1st to 6th in the closing moments of yesterday's F2 race. You should definitely check that out on the IRL YouTube channel, or again, you can check it out on mine. But Adrian Storm making his second start of the F1 season, currently running 5th. And Tyler Rhodes has jumped to the top of the charts with a 1:17.3. He's a full second faster than Aaron Collingwood. And we are going to pick up Louis Quinlan is currently in the pits, but Quinlan finally finished a race last week between IRL and SRL. He has had 3 straight DNFs. Finally managed to put some points on the board last week with an 8th place finish. Good for him. Hammer Time is new to the league. He is in the Williams, and I will try and get more information on him as we move forward. And we see John Colonias jumped to 3rd fastest, 1:18.5. Felix Naguar has gone second. Oh, well, he was second until just now when Collingwood decides to go 1:17.8. So he's in pursuit of Tyler Rhodes. Tyler Rhodes was F2 driver, got the call up after last week. So he'll be running in F1 this year. Rhodes had a pretty good start to the season and had a big-time win in Circuit of the Americas for F2, managed to win in the wet, and pulled out to a 14-second lead in the wet within the first 3 laps of the race. So congrats to Tyler Rhodes on his F2 win and getting the call up to F1. We've got a caution in Sector 1. And a little less than 11 minutes to play in these qualifying sessions. So last week we had a lot of F2 drivers. Luke Baker also had an F1 debut. He managed to finish 10th in his debut for F1. So Adrian Storm, Luke Baker, Joe Hollis, and Billy Malsom were all F2 drivers that got a call up last week to play reserve for some of the missing F1 drivers. Unfortunately, Adrian Storm and Luke Baker were the only ones to finish in the points. And Felix Naguar has now dropped to 5th quickest. As we said, he's tied in points with Jay Drawbridge. But last round, an interesting record was brought to my attention yesterday by Cameron Russell Edwards. And Felix Naguar has been a championship points leader, if you go back to last season, for a consecutive 19 races. Now that could all change today, as you see Jay and Felix 4th and 5th quickest. As we see, we've got a caution in Sector 3. But to round out last week's race in Mexico. Like I said, Drawbridge had picked up his first pole, picked up his second win in a row. Obviously, he'll be looking for his third straight win today. Glover had finished second, Reese Bibby third, Adrian Storm was fifth, and Felix Naguar finished fifth after 18 seconds of penalties. It was raining in Mexico, and towards the end of the race, Felix knew that time penalties were going to be an issue with him, so he pushed. He actually finished second. Oh no, and look at this. Drawbridge just made a huge mistake trying to get into the pits and clipped the pit wall and broke the left front suspension, so he's done. So his time's going to stand at a 1:18.0. Unbelievable. So we'll see if he drops further back into the running order as we pick up Tyler Rhodes, his teammate. Rhodes is currently on pole. Jay Drawbridge is fourth. We'll see if Drawbridge falls farther back. This is going to be advantage Felix Naguar if he can get out of the pits with a good setup and set a faster time. But as I was saying about Naguar, he had 18 seconds worth of penalties. So he actually finished the race second, but it dropped him all the way back to fifth place. And Luke Baker, who's an F2 driver, finished 10th last week. So he did pick up a championship point, but I'm not sure what the record is, but Baker had a total of 21 seconds worth of time penalties. So if that's not the record, it's got to be close. But good for Luke finishing in the top 10 and scoring a championship point despite the 21-second penalty. Renee Vanderstapp finished 6th last week. Saba Sikju 7th, Louis Quinlan 8th, and Jorge Correa 9th. Baker was 10th. We started with 17 drivers, and we ended with, I believe, 12. Gabriel Ryan had a disconnect issue. He had finished 12th, I should say. I'm sorry, 11th last week. His A car had gone AI after his disconnect. He started second. Then there was Thomas Scott. Thomas Scott started second, not Gabriel Ryan, but Thomas Scott had started second last week and unfortunately spun on lap 3, fell through the running order and was unable to recover. Unfortunately, he managed to finish 12th last week. So Leland Supartini picked up his first DNF along with Joshua Dangle. Dangle was 13th. Supartini 14th. As we see Adrian Storm pulling up the side. Quinlan has now called it 12th quickest, and he's retired from the session. So we pick up Joshua Dangle. We're going to pick up Aaron Collingwood. See what kind of time he's running in relation to Tyler Rhodes. And Sandre Sauerhog will be starting 12th as you see Collingwood heads into the pits. Props to Colonius, I'm not sure how you say that name. But he is third quickest in the Renault. Haven't seen him yet this year. Sandro will be starting 12th. You see he's going retired from the session. Sandre had a great qualifying start last week. Started 4th. It was his best qualifying effort of the year. Unfortunately, ran into some issues late in the race. Fell through the running order. He ended up finishing 15th. So rough day for him. Joe Hollis and Billy Mossam both made their F1 debuts. Hollis finishing 16th and Billy Mossam picking up a DNF, unfortunately for him. So 5 minutes left to play. Continue to ride with John Colonius. He's going to come down towards the final section of this track here. This very right, left, right, back onto the front stretch. 1:17.296, jumps to second behind Tyler Rhodes. Good run for him. We'll pick up Joshua Dangle. He's currently on a fast lap, I believe. Getting more viewers and more chat. People want to request tire data. So there's your tire data for everybody. Looks like Rhodes and John have set their times on super softs. Everybody else is currently running on softs. Looks like Jay was on mediums when he crashed. Dangle is going to head in, so we'll pick up Adrian Storm. Looks like he's a 10th up over his previous time. But currently only 9th quickest. And John just went 1:17.216 to take pole away from Tyler Rhodes. And Gabriel Ryan comes across the set of time at a 1:17.5, 3rd quickest. So Jay has now dropped to 5th, and Felix Neguar is now 8th fastest. And we're going to watch him here as he's come out, and he will start a hot lap. He has got to move himself up into the running order. So here we go. Felix Neguar going to start a hot lap. 2 minutes left to play. 2:30, I should say. DRS slot open as he makes the run down into turn 1. Smooth run out of the 1-2 complex up the hill. The long sweeping right-hander runs a little wide there. Trying to keep the throttle down. That might invalidate his time. Currently running in sector 2. And a new fastest lap, Aaron Collingwood, 1:17.0. So that drops Felix Neguar to 9th in the running order. Runs very wide coming out of that corner. And he's going to have to abort this lap. So 1:30 left to play. He'll come across the line with enough time to run one more lap, but he is going to have to try and put in something fierce on some softs. And a caution in sector 1. And Luke Smith, the Prime Stingray, has called it a day. He's currently 12th fastest. That's very out of the norm for him. And it looks like Felix is off the pace. Oh, and Neguar has called it a day. He sets the 5th fastest time. I thought for sure he would invalidate his time going 4 off. The 5th fastest time for him, just enough to get ahead of Jay Drawbridge. He'll pull to the side. We'll pick up Tyler Rhodes. And Tyler Rhodes looks like he's on a hot lap as well. No, he's not, considering where he's at on the track. He'll have enough time to run one more hot lap. Alexander Bastos making his 2nd start. Currently 9th quickest, he calls it a day. Lewis Marshall manages to get 5th. That drops Neguar to 7th. Squeezy's going to call it a day as he's 4th fastest. So Tyler Rhodes going to make a last-ditch effort. He comes across the line with a few seconds left. DRS slot open. Most of these guys only have 1 or 2 laps on their qualifying tires. Tyler Rhodes, ooh, not sure who that was. They dropped the left sides off into the grass. A little bit of a lock up there by Rhodes. Excuse me, I'm feeling very under the weather for this. Comes out of the right-hander up to the top of the hill, the short backstretch. DRS slot open. Not much of a DRS advantage there. The backstretch is so short. Oh, and the back end kicks out on Rhodes' car. Oh, and he gets very squirrely coming through there. Almost lost the back end. And now Aaron Collingwood, just to put a stamp on his qualifying time, 1:16.9. Tyler Rhodes is going to call it a day. Knows he blew that lap. So he retires from the session. He'll be third quickest. The only driver to not set a time was Jorge Correa. So here's your starting grid. Aaron Collingwood, the only one to run the 1:16. He goes 1:16.958 for your proverbial pole position. John Colonias is second, followed by Tyler Rhodes. Squeezy is fourth. Sandre Sauerhog does manage to get a fifth grid starting position. Lewis Marshall, followed by Gabriel Ryan, Joshua Dangle, Felix Naguar, and Jay Drawbridge, your championship point leaders, both starting 9th and 10th. Alexander Bastos manages to get 11th. Adrian Storm can only muster a 12th quickest. Correa does set a time. It didn't pop up in timing and scoring at the end. 1:19. He'll be starting 13th. And Luke Smith, 14th. That's very, very out of character for Luke Smith. Luke Smith is one of the fastest drivers in just about any league that he runs in. So Jay Drawbridge will definitely have he'll definitely have a very interesting race. He's going to have to start on the mediums because that's the time that he said was on the mediums when he crashed into the entrance of pit lane. You think he's going to be just about the only driver on mediums. He could play the strategy right. That could come to him later in the race if he runs the mediums on the first stint for a long enough time. We saw Adrian Storm yesterday try and run a one-stopper. He started on softs, I believe, and ran mediums. Tried to run mediums to the end, but with 2 laps to go, the left rear went flat on him, and he gave up the win to Paco Suarez yesterday. And Paco Suarez, I also believe, was the driver of the day yesterday. But the F2 race was quite entertaining. Lewis Marshall, who was running today, after watching what had happened to Adrian Storm, said he had to perhaps rethink his strategy moving forward. Marshall was going to run a one-stopper. We'll see if he does that, but he knows it didn't work out for Adrian Storm. We're going to go with the formation lap here real quick. Oh, and you saw one of the cars spin on the formation lap. I'm not sure who that was. May have been Gabriel Ryan. Actually, it looks like it was John Colonias. So, but Aaron Collingwood, first pole position of the year. We don't see much of him. Followed by John Colonias. Tyler Rhodes making his F1 debut, starting third. TTG Squeezy. Trying to see if I've got any information on that guy. It doesn't look like I do, though, so I'm not sure who that is, but Squeezy will be running fourth. Another good qualifying effort by Sandre Sauerhog. Starting fifth, Lewis Marshall will be sixth. Gabriel Ryan is seventh. Joshua Dangle, eighth. Championship points leader Felix Naguar is ninth, followed by Jay Drawbridge. He'll be starting on the mediums. Alexander Bastos making his second start in F1 for IRL. Adrian Storm, 12th. Correa is going to be 13th. Luke Smith, it'll be interesting to see what he can muster, starting all the way in the back at 14th. Hammer Time will be 15th, and then Louis Quinlan will be starting all the way in the very back at 16th position. So a 33-lap race today, just as we did yesterday in F2, and I'm not even sure what we're looking at here. There we go. There we go. Oh, look at this. Bastos is... Oh, no, and Felix Naguar is disqualified from the session for a severe collision with Felix Naguar. And obviously a glitch at the beginning of the race. And how is this going to play out? As you see one of the McLarens run through the chicane, obviously a problem with the start. And we are going to see if this stands or holds, make it a possible restart due to the internet issues. Got cautions in sector 1 and 2. We watched the battle at the front here. This is TTG Squeezy on the back of Collingwood. Kalinius has fallen back to 3rd. Lewis Marshall's into 4th. He started 6th. And there's Jay Drawbridge in 7th. Oh no, and one of the Haas's has crashed in the back. That is Luke Smith. Oh, unfortunate turn of events for him. Oh, and Drawbridge is starting to have some traction issues. He's got his teammate trying to work on the inside of him. You see that's one of the Mercedes there. That's Adrian Storm trying to work his way through the field. So a pretty hectic first lap, a very unsmooth start. Beginning of this race. And you see Rhodes getting a draft off of his teammate Drawbridge, and he's going to try and make the move around the outside. And Tyler Rhodes is going to move into the 7th position. Uh-oh, and it looks like that was one of the Renaults has gone around. That's Kalinius. And he has left the session. So, possible rage quit, possible disconnect. So that's going to mean Squeezy is still in pursuit of Collingwood, but that's going to move Lewis Marshall up into 3rd spot. And this is exactly what Lewis Marshall wanted. Marshall was 32 points behind Drawbridge and Naguar at the beginning of this race. You see Luke Smith has officially left the session. So Marshall was 32 points behind. He's definitely going to be able, as of right now, to definitely close that points gap on Naguar and Drawbridge. So getting ready to start lap 3. We got Francis McGinn joining in on the live chat. Always good to hear from Francis, but also would rather have him on the track. Collingwood starting to pull out to a little bit of a gap as he runs another fastest lap. Squeezy running 2nd. Lewis Marshall is 3rd. Gabriel Ryan has managed to work his way into 4th. Sandre is now being passed on the inside by Tyler Rhodes. Rhodes is going to take over the 5th position. That's going to move Sandre back to 6th. Jay Drawbridge is running 7th. Adrian Storm has managed to get up to 8th. Quinlan, who started all the way in the very back of the pack, 16th, has now managed to work his way into 9th, so good for him. Hammer Time on his F1 debut is now into 10th. Korea is in 11th. Alexander Bastos, I believe he was a part of the botched start, is 12th. Dangle is 13th. And you see John Glenius' car is now pulling into the pits for a wing change and tire change. He's gone AI. He left the session, so his car will be probably wreak havoc here in a few laps as he becomes a lap car. Luke Smith and Felix Naguar both out of this race. Luke Smith crashed last lap. Very uncharacteristic of him. And then Felix Naguar had a collision at the beginning of the start, possibly jumped the start or possibly was an internet issue with the start. Either way, Naguar was disqualified from the get-go, so too bad for him. And as it stands, his streak of being the championship points leader for 19 consecutive races will essentially come to an end. And actually, that's really only if Jay Drawbridge manages to score points today. Drawbridge currently running 7th. So Squeezy is starting to close the gap down to Collingwood. The battle for the lead. Your next closest battle is going to be Tyler Rhodes as he tries to close in on Gabriel Ryan. You've got Sandre right behind him. Oh, and look at a little bit of a twitch there by Rhodes' car. And Sandre with a little bit of a twitch as well. So we've got 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th all covered by about 2 seconds from each other. And we saw a lot of this type of racing yesterday in the F2 race. The F2 race was pretty much a 3-car battle most of the day for first or second position. And it was quite amazing to watch. There was a lot of good racing going on between some of the F2 drivers. A lot of respect was being shelled out, a lot of intelligent moves. Hoping to see some of the same today. As you see, Sandre is now in the middle of a McLaren sandwich. That is Drawbridge on the back of him. Remember, Drawbridge is on the medium tire, so he's going to run a very long first stint. But he's proving his pace as he's catching. And now Sandre's going to try and go around the outside of Tyler Rhodes. And a good, strong move. Oh, but look at this. Drawbridge tries to go around his teammate. And that was not probably the best move. He's trying to make gains here. And that's going to give up a position to Adrian Storm. So now Adrian Storm is going to be running 7th. Sandre's managed to pull away from this battle in 5th. So now 6th, 7th, and 8th, and 9th, because now Hammer Time has now started to creep into the picture. These guys are covered. There's still a battle going on at the front. Sandre just picked up a 3-second time penalty. We're going to pick this up real quick as we get away from that action. This is Squeezy still trying to work on Collingwood. That gap has managed to stay around 3/4 of a second. He hasn't been able to get close enough to make a move. And we go back to the battle for 6th here. Rhodes took that corner very wide. Storm looking to try and make a move. See Sandre there in the foreground trying to make his way towards 4th position if he can catch up to Gabriel Ryan. And looks like Tyler Rhodes is headed into the pits. And look at this, Drawbridge is going to make a move on Storm. That's going to give him the inside line for the next corner around. See if Storm can do a crossover. Might be getting a little bit of aero wash off of the back of Jay Drawbridge's car. And Hammer Time is right there with him. Hammer Time looking to make a move on Storm now. And while all this was happening, Tyler Rhodes has come out of the pits and he's fallen all the way back to 12th. See the tire data on some of these guys. Drawbridge still on the mediums. Hammer Time started on the mediums as well. Alright, sorry about that. I had to step away for a hot second as we continue to watch this battle here for the 6th position. Looks like Quinlan is dropping through. Oh, Quinlan has gone off. So he dropped through the order. Not sure if there was contact with anybody. Caution sector 1 and 2 probably in regards to for Quinlan's spin. Sandre's lost some positions too. Alexander Bastos is going to manage to get around him. And Tyler Rhodes is now into 9th, so Tyler may have had something to do with the fall of positions from Quinlan and Sandre. So now the two Toro Rossos are running 11th and 12th outside of the points. And you see who's that going off? And Sandre rejoins the track. So not sure what's going on there. And we've got a move here at the front. Looks like Squeezy has managed to get around Collingwood as we were trying to see what was going on with Sandre. So we'll see if Collingwood can make that move back. I'm sorry we missed it. Again, I had to step away for a second. And Sandre is going to head into the pits. And it looks like Hammer Time is now making a move. Made the move on Adrian Storm to pick up that 6th spot. So the car's starting to get a little bit spread out now. And some guys should be starting to make stops here very soon. Tyler Rhodes has pitted. Sandre has just pitted. Looks like Joda may have pitted early. Maybe Joshua Dangle. Joshua Dangle did pit early. But Squeezy is pulling away from Aaron Collingwood. So Aaron has some good short run pace. Looks like the car has come to Squeezy though, and he's going to have good long race pace. Meanwhile, Lewis Marshall's in the other Ferrari, is currently running 3rd. He's about 2.5 seconds behind his teammate. Gabriel Ryan is 4th, and Jay Drawbridge has managed to work his way back into 5th position. And Felix Naguar has officially left the session. His car was disqualified at the start, so very unfortunate turn of events for Felix Naguar. Not sure if he accidentally jumped the start. Looked like he had smashed into the back of Alexander Bastos' car at the start, disqualified him immediately. So currently, Jay Drawbridge, who is out on another set of mediums. Interesting strategy for him. Actually, Drawbridge has not pitted yet. Didn't he? No, it was Tyler Rhodes that pitted. I'm getting my McLarens mixed up. So Drawbridge is up to 5th, yet to make a stop. He'll run the mediums on a very long first stint. But if he can finish in the points, he'll become your points leader, and that will end the 19 consecutive races that Felix Naguar has led the championship. So too bad for him. Felix is the very methodical driver, so not sure if it was an internet issue at the start that called him out on it, or if he just happened to jump the gun a little bit. Same thing with Luke Smith. Luke Smith was making his another one off. He is a reserve. He doesn't race very much in the league anymore due to time difference between where he is and when the races start. Luke Smith is usually very quick. I really expected him to be really battling to the front. We last saw Luke Smith at IRL in the GT3 League on Gran Turismo Sport, where he ran the Enduro and the Sprint at Monza, I believe it was, in both cases, and finished in the top 2. You see Sandre has just ran the fastest lap at a 1:29.31, but he's currently 13th. The cars are a little bit spread out now. Squeezy has managed to pull out to a 2.5 second gap over Aaron Collingwood. Collingwood we haven't seen much of this year. He was scheduled to be co-commentator with me at the beginning of the season. I believe we did one race. He's also set up as a reserve. You see a big twitch there. The back end almost came around and he drops the right sides into the grass. Now, Lewis Marshall did co-commentate with me yesterday on my YouTube channel for the F2 race. You guys can definitely check that out. Again, it was an amazing race from start to finish. Marshall did have in his mind, and we've got a caution in Sector 2, and it looks like that might have been Quinlan with another issue, and Quinlan is off. Looks like Sandre has managed to get around him. But Marshall did have it in his mindset to run a one-stop strategy for today's race. He was going to run a very similar strategy as to what Adrian Storm was running yesterday. And when it didn't pan out, Marshall definitely had to think twice. So it'll be interesting to see if he does change his strategy and try to go with a two-stopper. He's currently running 3rd, and Gabriel Ryan is actually starting to close the gap to Lewis Marshall for that 3rd position. Meanwhile, Hammer Time has managed to catch the back of Jay Drawbridge's car. Big slide as we come out of there, and it looks like Collingwood is going to head into the pits. Tire change, and this is where it's going to get interesting because it looks like Collingwood has switched over to the mediums on lap 12, so 21 laps on these tires. He may befall the same fate that Adrian Storm had to go through yesterday. Meanwhile, that's going to hand the second spot over to Marshall, and we're going to pick up the battle for what is essentially fourth position right now, as Hammer Time has managed to catch the back of Jay Drawbridge's car. You see a little bit of puff of smoke out of the left front, a little bit of a lock up there from Hammer Time. Oh, and he runs wide, just dumps the right side tire or left side tires into the grass. Caution in sector 3. Oh, he's all over the back ones. They get to make this run out of that little hairpin there and then down into the front stretch. And these two guys are actually starting to pick up and catch Gabriel Ryan, which Gabriel Ryan has now just inherited the lead when Lewis Marshall and Squeezy pitted. So we're going to check out Lewis's Marshall tires, and he is coming out on mediums. So it looks like he's going to try the one stopper. Meanwhile, there is a battle for the lead here. Gabriel Ryan lost the lead. You see there's the lap car of Linnaeus, and it's in the way of Gabriel Ryan back there. Caution in sector 2. And a 3-second time penalty for Jorge Correa. So Jay Drawbridge is now your leader along with Hammer Time. These two drivers did start the race on medium, so they're going to still go. And now you've got a battle for fourth, and this is Lewis Marshall and Squeezy again. I'm sorry, Collingwood and Squeezy again. Collingwood was leading this race. Squeezy put a move on him going out into turn 1 and took the lead, and you see Squeezy just able to gap him a little bit there. Gabriel Ryan finally comes into the pits. He'll be pitting from third, so he'll give up a couple of spots. We watch Collingwood now going to try and make a move on the outside of Squeezy. Squeezy tries to take the more defensive line, but Marshall's able to make it work on the outside. You see that is the lap car there. They get around him just fine. And Gabriel Ryan finally comes out of the pits all the way back in 10th spot. We're going to pick up the battle for the lead now. Oh, and look at this. Whew. The Williams of Hammer Time runs very wide coming up to the top of the hill. He was trying to give it everything he got. He locks up the front tires. So Hammer Time running second in his F1 debut behind points leader Jay Drawbridge now. Hammer Time, little puffs of smoke coming out of the front here. Looks like he's getting a little overzealous. Wants to try and make that move. Cuts the corner there. That's definitely going to be a warning for sure. Drawbridge just kind of running his own race, it seems like. And Drawbridge has run some fantastic races this year. Unfortunately, back at the opening round in Canada, he did get taken out. Had a DNF. Ultimately finished 11th that day. He disconnected, which was possibly due to a rage quit. He got caught up in a 3-wide situation coming out of turn 2 at Canada, and his car got put into the wall, and he shortly disconnected after that and retired from the session. But he came back at COTA. He won that race, even though he didn't get the pole position. And in round 3 in Mexico, he won the pole position in the dry. and won the race in the wet. So very commanding wet win for him. In fact, he was 53 seconds ahead of the second place car of Brandon Glover that day. Continue to watch these two battle it out. These are the two guys that are within a second of each other. Squeezy, though, is still trying to get the third spot back from Aaron Collingwood. Collingwood had run the fastest lap so far at 1:19 just a lap ago. So the question becomes is how long are these two guys going to run the medium tires? So ultimately, if they pitted now, they would definitely drop a few spots. They would probably come out somewhere in the 6th spot. You see this? He's trying to make a move on the outside. Drawbridge holds the line. Hammer can't find a way around him, not this time. We talked to Lewis Marshall a lot yesterday about the setups for this track and what he had going on as far as his pit strategy, but Circuit de Catalunya seems to be a very difficult track to try and find a good setup on. Marshall had stated that he was still struggling to find a good setup at the time of commentating the F2 race. Looks like he might have a halfway decent setup here, but the backstretch is rather short. The corners are long and sweeping. It's definitely one of the more nostalgic F1 tracks, not like the modern day tracks of Coda and Yas Marina where everything is a 90-degree turn or an acute angle. There's long straightaways, long stopping, brake checkers. There's big passing zones. Catalunia's got the elevation change, the track narrows, it widens. There's not a lot of good passing opportunities, but it's a very rhythmic track. Russian Viper is taking his guess at lap 19 is when these guys will possibly pit. So sometime within the next couple laps, these two are going to try and make a run for the pits. So they've got 16 laps on their tires. The only other driver that's got close to that many laps is Joshua Dangle, who's in 10th, but he pitted very early. A lot of these other guys are 2, 3, 4, 5 laps into their runs. And again, Hammer is going to try and get some of that DRS advantage. You see there, KLC, that's Collingwood starting to creep into the background there. He's actually closed the gap down to these guys from 6.5 seconds to 4.3. If these guys pitted now, they would come out somewhere in the 6th, 7th spot area. Nobody makes a dive for it yet. They're going to go one more time around for sure. And you can see Collingwood there just starting to creep into the background. That now is 3.5 seconds. So he gained almost a full second through that last sector. And once again, Hammer close enough, but not close enough to try and make a confident move to take that position. It was only a few laps ago that Hammer time looked like he was starting to get a little bit more aggressive and a little overzealous with his braking points. Looks like he's calmed down a little bit. Right now, it looks like he's just trying to keep pace with Jay Drawbridge. And we've got a position change back in the 7th spot. This is Adrian Storm getting around Alexander Bastos for the 7th position. And we've got Moss Driver checking in with the live chat with a smiley face. We're here, we aim to please. Continue to watch this battle for the lead. So the quick right, left, right section here as they head back out onto this final corner onto the front stretch. Is anybody going to make the move for the pitch? Drawbridge heads in. So Drawbridge pits on lap 18. Hammer Time's going to take it one more time around. And now Collingwood is within 2.5 seconds. And you see Squeezy's closed the gap to him. So the only driver yet to pit would be Hammer Time, as he's got a 2.7 second lead over Aaron Collingwood. Looks like Drawbridge is still in the pits. There he goes. Nice little internet glitch there. He's going to come out behind. It's going to be close with his teammate. And Tyler Rhodes is going to come out in front of him. So Rhodes is 5th and Jay Drawbridge is 6th. Joshua Dangle now is running 9th, and I want to bring him up because he pitted very early. So Hammer Time's the only driver that hasn't pitted. Okay, he's got all of 18 laps on his tires, and you see Dangle did pit, but he's got 17 laps on his mediums. And I want to pick up Hammer Time again because I want to see if he actually heads into the pits this time. A little bit of a puff of smoke there out of the left front. And Hammer Time is definitely going to pit this time around, so that's going to hand the lead over to Aaron Collingwood. Started on pole position, led a little bit of this race. He's got Squeezy starting to close in behind him. Where is Hammer Time going to come out in relation to Jay Drawbridge? Drawbridge is coming around the corner now. He managed to get around his teammate, Tyler Rhodes. And here he comes over the crest of the hill. And Drawbridge is now going to be in front. So no change there for position for Hammer Time. He tried to stay out and put in one more hot lap, but he couldn't quite get it done. And now he's in the middle of a McLaren sandwich. Meanwhile, Squeezy is starting to squeeze and put the pressure on KLC 73 Collingwood for this lead. He's got that cut down to 1.1 seconds. He reaches to the top of the hill. Joshua Dangle is now making a pit stop. Tyler Rhodes is within a second of Hammer Time. It would be good to see if Rhodes could get by Hammer Time and give his teammate a little bit of a breathing room. So Jay Drawbridge and Hammer Time are both on medium tires. They should be running those tires to the end of the race, I believe. You see, Drawbridge is having some issues with the car. I'm sorry, this is Rhodes having some issues with the car. And Louis Quinlan has retired from the session with a DNF. Not sure what happened to him. Oh no, and KLC's retired from the session. What has happened to him? Collingwood was running second. Trying to see if we see his car anywhere. And it looks like it might have gone off in that section there. And Quinlan's car looks like that's one of the Toro Rossos there. So a big change of events now. And Collingwood is going to be done for the day. Not sure if there was contact between him and Squeezy for the lead. We were talking pit strategy, and all of a sudden we've lost two drivers in the matter of less than a lap. Collingwood and Louis Quinlan both DNF. Not sure if one had to do with the other. So Lewis Marshall finds himself in the catbird seat, 8 seconds behind Squeezy. So unbelievable turn of events as we pick up Hammer Time, trying to close the gap now. What is essentially going to be the battle for third spot right now with Jay Drawbridge. So a lot of big-time players have managed to find themselves out of this race today. Felix Naguar was your championship points leader. He got disqualified at the start for heavy contact with Alexander Bastos. Again, we're not sure if he jumped the start or if it was an internet issue. Luke Smith, the Prying Stingray, very fast driver, making a one-off appearance as a reserve today, crashed on the opening lap. KLC now, Aaron Collingwood, who was leading the race, managed to crash as well. Louis Quinlan has crashed. Another DNF for him. That is his third DNF of the IRL season. And John Kalinius, who managed to start in the top 3 positions, disconnected, and his car is running 13th. The two cars to watch are these guys right here. Jay Drawbridge, as we look out the back of his car to Hammer Time. These two guys ran mediums in the opening stint. Drawbridge went 18 laps. Hammer Time went 19 laps. They come out in the same places they were running, essentially one behind the other, third and fourth. So it's going to have to be, it's yet to be seen if Squeezy and Marshall are going to be trying to make another pit stop. Marshall's running on mediums. I believe he's going to try and run those to the end. And Squeezy, if Squeezy plans on making one more stop, which I doubt he does because he's on mediums as well, he would have to pull out a massive gap to try and make up for the pit stop delta. Right now we're going to pick up Adrian Storm, running 6th as he closes in on Gabriel Ryan. As we talked earlier, Adrian Storm ran a one-stop strategy yesterday. He ran a near-perfect race, but unfortunately the left rear tire blew with 2 laps to go. Finished his day, he went from running 1st to finishing 6th. See, Tyler Rhodes just ran the fastest lap. You see a lot of guys are out in the medium tires. You see Squeezy and Lewis Marshall both pitted about 10 laps ago. Excuse me. So Storm unable to muster and close the gap to Gabriel Ryan at all. Same thing with Hammer Time. His gap has stayed about the same at 1.5 seconds. Quinlan has officially left the session at this point. And again, that'll be his 3rd DNF of the season. Change for position here, looks like. That is Joshua Dangle getting around Jorge Correa as they battle for 9th and 10th. Looks like the lap car of Colinas is going to get in the way, and Dangle manages to hit the back of him. Oh no, and so does Correa. They both hit the back end of the lap car of John Colinius, however you say his name. And now Correa's managed to catch up to the backside of Joshua Dangon. Unbelievable. There's been a lot of talk this year from a lot of the drivers that they want the ghosting turned on for the lap cars. And I appreciate what the league has done by not letting that happen. We've seen the lap cars be a factor in every single race this year. And I think it's something that, as a league, to try and make it as real as possible, you need to leave the ghosting off. I appreciate what the league has done. And you see, once again, a lap car has become an issue. Correa tries to make a move to the outside. Oh, and he's going to make it stick. Nice move for him. And Correa's going to manage to work his way around to the outside of turn 3 and start to pull a gap. And it looks like I've got Felix Naguar joining me here in the booth. Felix, what happened? What happened at the start of this race?
I really can't tell you, to be honest. I just don't know, but I accidentally released my clutch pedal. And then I tried to avoid Essex White ahead of me. I slightly touched his rear. The game immediately disqualified me. So it wasn't me braking on the straight on the first lap. It was my AI braking. So Joshua went into my AI car then. And Luke had to avoid my AI car as well. And Luke was struggling with setup in general. That's why he retired as well. But yeah, it was just... pretty weird and unnecessary from me.
Unfortunately, that is, and we had talked about it earlier, but you would go on 19 consecutive races as a championship points leader. That is going to end today. So it wasn't an internet glitch. It wasn't a
Nope.
It wasn't a false start. It was your own fault. That is very unfortunate.
Yeah, but after I retired a few laps later, my internet connection dropped, and I had to restart my PlayStation. So even if I would have made the start, I would have been kicked from the session. I would have lost quite a lot of time. So I'd rather have that happen right now at this weekend when I bottled it already, than having it at a weekend when I'm leading or something. But even more unfortunate it is for Aaron, who just got his race win stolen, to be honest.
We didn't see what happened to him. Unfortunately, we do know he had a DNF.
Yeah, I think it was a retired car. Someone retired, and then the AI car took out Aaron. So,
and we were actually just talking about that because that was John Collinius, I'm not sure how you say his last name, but that was the Renault. He had retired earlier in the race, car's 2 laps down. But we were just talking about it because Jorge Correa and Joshua Dangle both ran into a very similar situation where they both managed to rear end the back of the Renault. So me as a spectator, I appreciate what the league has done by keeping the ghosting off. I know the drivers seem to hate it, but I do feel like it does add one more element to the online racing. We are currently watching Jay Drawbridge, who is now going to be the points leader if he finishes this race, and Hammer Time closing the gap to Lewis Marshall.
Yeah, we actually did vote in the league chat whether we want to keep ghosting off or whether we want to disable it, and actually most people were for that to keep it off, so it just makes it more realistic and more threatening when someone retires, especially at the race start. You know, when someone crashes, you really have to avoid, you really have to be careful to not hit the retired car or anything. But if something like that happens, obviously it's very annoying and disappointing, and you cannot do anything against it. But it just adds, like you said, it just adds that one more thing of excitement to the race.
We're currently watching second, third, and fourth. Lewis Marshall 8 seconds behind Squeezy for the lead, but the battle now, Jay Drawbridge is within 1.5 seconds of Marshall, and Hammer Time is now within striking distance of Drawbridge. We saw a lot of this type of racing yesterday in the F2 race. Now, as a driver, especially in your position now, you've got second, third, 2 drivers basically. One's going to be taking the championship points lead. The other one was 32 points behind you at the start of this race, but you're going to be stuck in the middle of a sandwich, it looks like, at the end of this race. You're able to come back from that moving forward with some of the tracks that are left on the schedule.
I really don't think I have got a pace advantage over any one of those guys. Lewis Marshall is on. Looks like he has got the same pace as me, but Jay is out of reach on most tracks, I think. For example, in Mexico or in USA, I couldn't keep up with him at all. But I think it's gonna be close between Lewis and me in the championship, and some races like that could decide it towards the end. But I think Jay, if he keeps on with results like this, he'll probably get the championship. But I think it's going to be exciting to see what happens behind that. So Lewis and me, in a good fight. I think we had a good race against each other in Canada as well. So I think that's going to be very exciting to see. But like I said, Jay is just out of reach on those tracks, I think.
Well, the battle is starting to unfold as Jay Drawbridge is now caught back of Lewis Marshall. So you've got a 3-way car battle for the second spot. Now, Drawbridge and Hammer Time are both on the soft tires. Marshall is on some very old medium tires at this point, so we'll see how much of a fight he keeps up. And while we were talking to Felix Naguar, unfortunately Tyler Rhodes had a DNF as well, and he is now going to be done for the day, so that's his F1 debut. We'll keep Felix in the booth with us for the closing laps. Always good to have a
like
driver spec.
All three are running similar wings, so they have difficulties to get past each other. At least it seems like that. But I think Hammer Time could go for a move in a place where you wouldn't expect it. It's very close in the middle sector, but then Jay pulls away quite nicely on the straight and then gets closer to Lewis again.
And while we were watching the F2 race yesterday, a lot of the drivers, Adrian Storm tried to do a one-stop strategy, and it fell apart for him at the end of the race. It looks like Lewis might be doing the same thing. How hard was it to try and find a proper setup for this track? It seems like a lot of the drivers have struggled with pace and tire selection.
Yeah, very difficult on this track. We had all drivers were struggling with tire temps on the left side, obviously, and through the high tire temps, the degradation just was so high. We practiced before the race, and after 5 laps, I had 25% on my left tires, so I had to change my setup, and then it worked, but obviously it didn't help out. But Sondres has the same setup as me, so Sondre shouldn't be struggling too much, but I think Lewis had some problems with tire temperatures as well. So yeah, I'm not quite sure whether he will make it till the end.
We continue to watch the 3-car battle, and then as it's been unfolding, TTG Squeezy, his lead is dropped by 1.5 seconds. So these guys are only 7.5 seconds behind Squeezy, so it's possible Squeezy may be running into some issues as well. Looks like he's a little bit off the pace coming out of that corner as we pick him up. Might be trying to save his tires until the end.
And if you go on board with Jay, you can see the blisters on the left front tire, and those blisters are there on Lewis Marshall's tires as well.
And we do pick up the onboard action. You can see a little bit of a line in the middle of that tire.
Oh, now Jay could go for a move into turn 1 actually. Closes up.
He's going to think about it, and he ducks back in line.
That's the difficulty here in Spain, through the fact that turn 1 isn't the heaviest braking zone. It's very difficult to outbrake someone if you're not immediately behind him. You really have to be very close, otherwise it's going to be difficult to go for a move without outbraking yourself.
Essentially 2 laps remaining here. Three-way battle still continuing.
And if Jay and Lewis will crash or something, it will be Hammer Time who takes advantage of that, who seems to be waiting in the background until something between those two will happen.
Hammer did show some aggressive driving earlier in the race, towards the end of the first stint, but he wasn't able to make up the position. It looked like he backed off, and from what I can tell, for most of this race, he's just been maintaining his gap to Jay Drawbridge. And like you said, he might be in the catbird seat if Drawbridge tries to make a move and some sort of calamity happens between him and Lewis Marshall.
Yeah, he seems to be struggling in the middle sector quite a lot, especially through the fast right-hander before the second DRS straight. But I don't think he is quite close enough to go for a move right now. And it's going to be difficult for him now to overtake at some point throughout this last lap. And you can see through the fast corners, through the dirty air and through the blisters on his front left tires, he seems to suffer from quite a lot of understeer.
Does Drawbridge try and make a last-ditch effort? Looks like he's fallen back a little bit, which also begs the question, does Hammer Time try to make a last-ditch effort to try and pick up a position? Unfortunately, Felix Naguar knows all too well about last-ditch efforts, as he lost position back at COTA and was not happy about the way he was raced by Reese Bibby. But do we see a similar situation unfold between these three drivers?
Doesn't seem so.
Only a few more corners remaining.
Oh, Lewis is sliding quite a lot now, but so is Jay. But I don't think he has the possibility to go for any move.
Don't think either one's close enough to make a move on any of them. So Squeezy's going to pick up his first win of the year. Lewis Marshall picks up a much-needed second spot. Jay Drawbridge is going to take the championship points lead with his third position. And congrats to Hammer Time on his debut, finishing fourth. Pick up Gabriel Ryan. He's way behind the rest of this battle, but he's going to finish a solid fifth position. Adrian Storm puts in another stellar F1 drive to come into sixth.
He always seems to be picking up the pieces as everyone else makes mistakes around him. He seems to be there.
Bastos is going to come across in seventh.
Oh, and Sondre puts in the fastest lap of the race. At the end, Joshua's nearly within a second of Jorge Correa.
Jorge Correa is going to come across eighth spot, while Joshua Dango will finish ninth.
Actually, it's going to be eighth because of penalties for Jorge Correa, I think.
So time penalties play a factor. We'll get the official results here in a minute.
Yeah, Joshua takes P8 from Jorge Correa because he had 9 seconds of penalties, where Joshua only had 3. I think the only driver not to have a penalty, yeah, it was Squeezy in first. Everyone else had at least 3 seconds of time penalties. Hammer Time had even 9 seconds. Oh, and Essex White had 9 as well. He nearly lost P5 to Storm.
So congratulations to TTG Squeezy and his maiden win. Lewis Marshall, like I said, picking up a much-needed second spot. Jay Drawbridge is third. Hammer Time fourth. Gabriel Ryan coming home fifth. Adrian Storm with a solid sixth-place finish. Bastos in his second F1 race in seventh. Joshua Dango eighth. Correa ninth. And Sondre Sauerhog picks up 10th. Kolonitis was one of the first drivers to disconnect. His car will come home 11th. Tyler Rhodes on his F1 debut wrecked. So did Collingwood, Louis Quinlan, Prying Stingway, and we've had Felix Naguar with us in the booth, unfortunately, for a disqualification of his own fault and doing. A very unfortunate race for him.
Yeah, fastest lap, as I said, goes to Sondre Sauerhog, who seemed to have pitted right before the end just to set that fastest time of the race. Yeah, he actually did pit 2 laps before the end just to get that
and we saw him
lap.
do a very similar thing last round. So this has been the Spanish Grand Prix. Now you can pick us the action up again next week. We'll be at the French Grand Prix at Paul Ricard. Again, F2 will race on Saturday, F1 on Sunday. And then you'll be able to pick up the IRL Group 3 GT League on December 15th, where they'll be racing at Alsace. And you can definitely check us out here, obviously on the YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and comment to the IRL YouTube channel. Be sure to check us out online at internationalracing-irl.com. And I want to thank Felix Naguar for being with me. Unfortunately, I am not going to stick around for driver interviews as I am feeling ill. But it's been another amazing race. Be sure to check out the website for updated standings and find out where Felix Naguar falls in the points after today's misfortune. So, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you at the next round.
Catch you to the next one.